this coming weekend, the preview. I went there last Thursday, the 4th of June, and I did um, the whole thing in one day, which was a long day, but I did it. And so we're going to be in Klickitat County. And we've been here before. We've been here on a number of field trips, and we actually had conference here in 2013. And I actually, living in Yakima, I'm fairly close, so I've been to Satyrs Pass a lot. So that's why it took me a while to get it all together because I wanted to go back and look at all the data of the species and stuff that I'd seen and we'd seen in the past, just to put it, in a better overall picture. So it was an interesting exercise, if not lengthy. So this is Klickitat County, not a very good map. This is on the road just as you come into Goldendale. Um, so we're going to go to Satyrs Pass and we're going to the Klickitat Valley Canyon. And they're the places we went to before, and they really are the best places, I think, for butterflies in the area. The ones I know of anyway. I mean, I'm sure there could be others, but um, and so that's where we'll be going. Um, and on Saturday, I think we'll go to Satyrs Pass and Simcoe Butte. Um, I've worked out 4 locations in that area from 3,600 to 4,600 feet. And as I mentioned earlier, it's going to be sunny. It's going to be sunny the whole weekend. The temperature is going to be different, that's all. So on Saturday, up there at that elevation, it'll be nice, 76, 78 degrees at maximum. Um, and then on Sunday, we'll do the Klickitat River Valley, and that's going to be hot. But we are doing obviously a half day morning, so we'll escape the hottest part of the day. And there's at least one good reason for being hotter that day for seeing butterflies that I'll mention later on. So this is a Google Earth map of the area. And we're staying, well, most of you are staying in Goldendale. And so Satyrs Pass is about 15, 14 miles to the north, just past Brooks Memorial Park, where David Droppers will be doing the moth evening on Friday. So it's not very far at all, just down the bottom of the hill. So I think we'll have some interesting moths there because this is, the wilderness wild area that it backs onto. And then Klickitat Valley's over here, and we can go the back way. There's a road through here that climbs down into the Klickitat Valley on Sunday. It's about the same distance, 15 miles or so. So Goldendale is a good, central spot to be. Next slide, please. Come on. There you go. Okay, so Simcoe and Satyrs. So I treat them as two different areas. So Satyrs is the area or the road getting up there, and Simcoe is the destination, really, the butte. I mean, probably many of you have been there before, and so you know it. And this is the reason we're going for the full day there is because there's more stops and more butterflies, both in abundance and diversity, judging from the other day, and also historically, that's usually been the case. And looking back over my records, I can, see that we've recorded about 50 species in June, up, Satyrs and Simcoe. So that's a good number. And last week I saw 30 just on my own, just for a couple of hours, and I didn't get to Simcoe Butte because I drive a Prius that is too low to the ground. And that's something else we need to consider. I mean, normal four-wheel drives and even, Subarus and, normal passenger cars are fine. It's just very low cars like my new Prius, which is very low to the ground because it's one bit with some rocks, not big rocks, but big enough for the Prius. So I didn't get to Simcoe Butte, not Brute, Butte. And the other thing was it was a cool day. It wasn't a warm day, and it was windy too. So seeing 30 species on a suboptimal day was pretty good, I thought. And I wasn't there for very long. God, I don't know why it doesn't move when okay. So in the Klickitat Valley on the same day in the morning, um, it was sunny and windy and only 65 to 68 degrees. So very breezy. And I saw 19 species, which was pretty good, I thought. But the thing about that area is that the habitat's drying rapidly. Everything's drying out very quickly. Um, and so that probably will be affecting abundance of butterflies at some point. Um, the abundance down there is not as good as at Satyrs Pass either, nor the diversity, as you can see, 19 compared to 30. But there's some interesting species down there. So there's some different species down there too. So in summary, the scouting trip on June the 4th, 37 species I saw in total between the two places. Go back. Um, Klickitat 19 and Satyrs 30. Oh dear, oh dear. Um, and Simcoe, I don't know because I didn't get up there, but looking at my records, we usually see about 30 species just at that area up there. And I know there's a couple of species at least that we don't see lower down. A lot of them are what you see on the way up, but there's a couple there that only occur up there, or more than a couple actually. Um, So during June 1st, 2nd, 2013, which is when our last WABA conference was at this location, we ended up seeing 55 species. So I think we can beat 55, given the good weather that we're going to get, warm and sunny. We've got a good chance of beating 55. Um, so let's go for it. So just a quick look at some of the places we'll stop at. This is the road up track. It's not really a road, of course. Um, this is what I call the wet bend, and there's moisture down the side over there and here. And so that attracts quite a few butterflies. And it's always a good little place to stop. So that'll be our first stop. There's my note there about yeah, we should carpool. At the beginning of this track, there's a big open area that we can, park cars. And I, for one, would like a lift from somebody since I don't want to, well, I can't take my Prius up there. So yeah, carpooling would be a good idea at that point. Um, the next stop will be the ski lodge area, which was a long time ago. Apparently, the skiing area there. That's a good spot. If you walk down here to the end there, there's a wetter area, a lot of flowers, and there was a lot of butterflies there a few days ago. So, and there's a big place to park just out here, so that's good. Not that this is a busy area, of course. I mean, even if we park on the road, we'll be lucky to be passed by one or two vehicles during the day, unless there's something going on up there, which I hope there isn't. Stop number 3, it's what I call the roadside seep, which this doesn't, you can't really tell in the picture, but it's sort of going up the hill here a bit. And there's a stream that runs down, well, I can't really say it's a stream. It's a seep, I guess, a wet area all along the side of the road, or most of it. And that's where I saw a lot of muddin butterflies, blues and checker spots, all sitting on the ground feeding on the mud. So that will be a good spot. We can walk quite a way up there actually, so this might take a bit of time. Plenty of flowers there too, and slightly different fauna from lower down. So this is the stop before Simcoe Butte, and this is where I stopped at, on Thursday. So the final stop would be Simcoe Butte, and this is a typical view up there. There should be lots of buckwheat still flowering, penstemons, and all sorts of higher elevation stuff, or spring flowers that are still flowering because it's higher elevation. And you can see on the hillside there, it's still green and buckwheat mixed in amongst the grass. And this hill over the back there is actually a hilltopping spot that I'll talk about more later on. So you can wander miles in this area. So this is where we probably get here about midday and spend the afternoon here, perhaps. And then on Sunday, the 3 spots down there that I think we should go to. Number one is, well, because we're coming from the other direction, it will be number three. I should have put them the other way around. But this is Fish On Road, which is the Klickitat Trail. In fact, I think all three spots are part of the Klickitat Trail. Jim will probably tell me I'm wrong. The Hall Road, which is number three, maybe isn't part of Klickitat Trail. But Fish On Road, you can walk about half a mile or less, actually, about a quarter of a mile, and see quite a good number of butterflies. Um, and particularly at this spot, which is, as you see, right by the river. And on hot days, or even, just warm days, butterflies are in the sand around here, out of actually down here, um, on the wetter sand. It can be a very good place to see blues and hair streaks. So I think we'll probably walk to just to here, maybe a little bit further, and then go back. It's a good spot, but it's going to be hot, which will make that mudding spot particularly valuable for butterflies. They will be seeking the moisture if it's going to be 90 degrees or upper 80s. Um, the second spot is the Horseshoe Bend area, which again is part of the Klickitat Trail. Similar fauna to the Fish On Road. It has the advantage here of having a porta potty in case we need one, um, and a few other species. Because I was doing everything in the one day, I didn't explore as much as I could have. So, 19 species is probably just tip of the iceberg. There's probably a lot more there that I didn't see, and it was cool and windy. And the final spot down there, and this will actually be our first spot because we're coming from Goldendale, the Hall Trail, um, which I actually met Jim Reed there on this trail many years ago. I can't remember how many. It was before 2013 anyway, which is 13 years ago. So my God, could be 20 years ago. Um, yeah, just met him down there on this road. I was with Tanya and the girls, and we bumped into him and his son, and that's how we got to know each other. And it was a great spot then for butterflies. And I think I was working on the book then, looking for butterflies to catch, females to collect and rear, and I was impressed. And we went here again in 2013, and I remember it vividly because John Pelham had Annabella, who was 2 years old at the time, on his shoulders, and I've got a great picture of that. I should have included it, but and so that will always be in my memory. Oh, and also the fact that in that particular year, morning cloaks were abundant and larvae were all over the willows commonly, and he demonstrated how they would respond to loud noises. So John, in his big voice, would make a noise, and all the caterpillars would stand to attention. So that was very interesting and amusing. So so that's a great place. So we'll go there. Okay, so that's just a brief preview of the places and the dates and the times. Now I'll go through the butterflies we may see. I mean, some we definitely will. And so the ones, the butterflies I show that have got either an S or a K on them, that means that I saw them June the 4th, just, 4 days ago. Um, and my list of 86 species probably isn't comprehensive. As I mentioned at the beginning, I was in a rush to do this, so I probably made mistakes. And if John is in the audience, he'll probably tell me. But I largely based these species on what was seen at Klickitat and Satas during visits in June during the years down here, '07, '08, '09, '13, and last week. Um, so so yeah, it's an educated guess at what we might see, and there's some species that we haven't really seen yet, but we should see. So we could, it's always the same when we have these meetings with abundant people. We often do find something different, a new county record or something unusual. So, I think we've got a good chance of doing that again this time. Okay, starting with the swallowtails and Parnassians, and as you can see, S and K. So I saw um, the pale tiger swallowtail pictured here at both those places. And it could well be the butterfly of the weekend. I mean, in my previous previews, I've talked about the butterfly of the weekend because there's usually a butterfly that stands out as the one you're going to see everywhere. And this gets close to it. I don't think there's any overwhelming species like there has been in some other years, but this one's probably closest. It's common in Klickitat Canyon and also at Satyrs. And and who can get the best photo of a pale tiger on scarlet gilia? For some reason, that just is a wonderful photo. And I've seen, I think Melanie's got a picture of pale on gilia. I know I have, and other people have too. And the gilias are flowering, and the swallowtails are flying. So we can have a competition, so you can get the best picture because they're there posing for you. Well, they were on Thursday. Okay, the next swallowtail is the Western tiger. I only saw a couple, but I think one or two at each of the two places. So yeah, they're there, and maybe they weren't as abundant as they should have been, perhaps because the weather wasn't optimal. Two-tailed tiger swallowtail, I only saw at Klickitat. He does occur at Satyrs too, though not commonly. June 2022, I saw it in my records. But at Klickitat, along the Fish On Trail or Fish On Road, it was common. It was I think I didn't see any Western tigers there. They're all two-tailed. Of course, that could all change by the time we go back. But yeah, they were flying fresh and beautiful. So we'll see them. Always great to see them. Indra swallowtail it occurs commonly in the Klickitat Valley and famously at the Apple Tree Road or Apple something road lookout area, but we're too late for that, unfortunately. This year has been, if you haven't realized, in eastern Washington, it's been a very early season and it's continued. We're, 2, 3 weeks in advance in most plants, flowering and butterflies. So Indra is well gone from the Klickitat Valley, I think, unless Jim can tell me otherwise. I didn't see any. And if they are around, they'd be very old and worn. I imagine there's a possibility we could see them a bit fresher up at Simcoe as we did in 2013 at the last WABA conference. That's possible because it's an ideal spot for them there with the long, hillsides and that they like going up and down. But yeah, this is, sad if you don't see this one, but we'll we'll hope to see it at Satyrs. And a swallowtail, it could be at Simcoe. I didn't get up there, so I don't know. It often is, later in the season because it's cooler up there, of course, later season up there. So quite likely you could see that up there. We might even see an Oregon swallowtail, though in my records, never seen one up there or at Klickitat, come to that. But then again, I haven't been to Klickitat as often as Satyrs. And Satyrs Pass overlooks habitat, the drier, lower elevation areas where it does occur. So it could quite possibly get blown up. So we see any Anis swallowtails that we think we should check them, make sure that they are not an Oregon swallowtail. And Pinaceans are up at Satyrs Pass, Simcoe, should I say, at the top, sparingly. We don't see them every year. I saw quite a few in 2021. Don't think I've seen any since. But it's a matter of timing. And the population isn't very big there, but they definitely do occur. I guess I would have mentioned here if we'd seen them in 2013. So I guess that means we didn't then. But fingers crossed we see them then. There's no Clodius there because it's further to the west. Looking at distribution maps and iNaturalist and everything, it's quite a way off before they start to appear. So it will be a shock to find Clodius up there. Moving on to the whites, a pair a day. The western white is often the most abundant butterfly at Simcoe Butte. Usually heel-topping, you know, crazily flying around at the tops of the hills, back and forth, um, looking for mates. So I would be surprised if we do not see western whites. Although saying that, they haven't been as common this year in lowland areas as they were last year. They're having a down year for some reason. So who knows? Maybe they won't be so common. But I'd be shocked if we don't see at least a few. Becker's white is, we don't usually see it up there, but again, we're close to sagebrush habitat, and also in Klickitat Canyon. The second generation is starting flight now, so they're beginning to move around. So it's a possibility. I didn't see one the other day, obviously, but yeah, I've seen quite a few fresh new ones in the last few days around Yakima and the Tri-Cities. The ubiquitous cabbage white, of course, can turn up anywhere. We saw it in 2013 in both places. Well, no, actually, just Klickitat. But it occurs up at Satas too occasionally. You know, you're always surprised when you see a cabbage white in a pristine habitat like Simcoe Butte. But there you go, it does. It feeds on the native crucifers, not just cabbages, of course. So yeah, we will see cabbage whites. I think I can guarantee. Although I didn't see them the other day, so maybe I shouldn't say that. Okay, Julia's orange tip. There may be some late flyers at Satis and Simcoe. Again, I didn't see any the other day, but we did in 2013, and last year I saw them as well in June. So they do fly much later at Simcoe, obviously, because it's a cooler climate. So it's always good to see Julia's orange tip. Haven't seen large marble up there, but there's a possibility of seeing it up there again because of the sage lands that are not too far away. Um, so yeah, we need to obviously, like everywhere we go, we check all the whites that are flying just in case they are something different because it's very difficult to tell what they are when they're flying unless they've got orange tips, of course. So yeah, this is another rare possibility. Spring white we've found up there. I have in the past uncommonly. I've never found them common anywhere, to be honest, in Washington. You know, where you could go back year after year, see them, you know, by the dozens. I don't know of such a place. Um, this is Dave Nunnally's picture, by the way, because I've seen them so rarely, I don't have a good picture. Even when I reared them for the book, I didn't get a good picture, which I found out today, which is quite shocking. So I'd like to see a spring white to get a good picture. But again, you know, it's, you know, it might be getting a bit past time, but there is a possibility of seeing one up there. I mean, that previous sighting was in June, so there's always a possibility. But, you know, we've got to balance it with the fact that this year is in advance. So moving on to the sulfurs, I saw orange sulfur at the lower part of Satas Pass. Orange sulfurs are quite common this year for early. I mean, they appeared early. I suspect that they overwintered successfully because we were seeing them around Yakima in December, still alive and flying, and we didn't really have a severe winter. I mean, hardly a killing frost to be seen. So it's quite possible that their larvae survived. I mean, most years they do not survive the winter, which is why we have to be replenished from the south every year, and it takes time. So usually the first sulfurs you see in spring in eastern Washington, you can usually almost guarantee they're going to be clouded sulfurs because they can survive our, you know, eastern Washington winters, unlike the orange sulfur. But this year they both survived happily, and the orange sulfurs are probably doing better than clouded sulfurs. So yeah, I'm surprised I didn't see one in Klickitat, but on a sunnier, warmer, less windy day like Sunday will be, we could well see one. And clouded sulfur too. I mean, often they're very difficult to tell apart, as I will know. But fortunately, we'll have some experts with us. So we should be able to identify what we find. And we're quite likely to see cloud sulphurs too in both locations, particularly Klickitat, I'd say. And then one of my favourite sulphurs, I guess, is the Western sulphur. It's abundant at Satyrs. So if you've never seen Western sulphurs, you're going to see plenty of them. They just started emerging last Thursday. I mean, they were fresh. I mean, I found one that looked newly closed. It could hardly fly. I think the wings were still soft. It just fluttered a bit and went to ground. Um, and beautiful, fresh coloration. So they're emerging right now, starting their flight, and I predict there'll be yellow butterflies flying everywhere, and it will be hard to pick out the orange sulphurs and clouded sulphurs because they'll all be Western sulphurs with their non-urethane spots, this clean yellow, mostly yellow hindwing. So they're always good to see. I like seeing Western sulphurs. Okay, moving on to the Lycaenidae, which includes the coppers, the hair streaks, and the blues. I lumped them all together, so I was lazy. 27 of them in total. So lots of little butterflies. As you know, they're all little. No big butterflies amongst these, but they're all little and fascinating in their own right. Um, so the first one is the purplish copper, one of the commonest coppers, well, probably the commonest copper in eastern Washington anyway. And I saw that a few individuals at Klickitat. Um, I got a feeling I might have been saying Kittitas. Have I? No, I always get those two mixed up. At Klickitat, we will see purplish copper on the Fish On Trail and probably the other places we go to as well. Um, and it does occur up at Satyrs too, mainly the lower areas, I think. But no, actually, I think it occurs at the Butte as well. So we will see purplish copper. This is, you put this down as one, it's almost a guarantee. However, saying that, this year is not a good year for them in Eastern Washington generally. I've only seen a few. So they had maybe the mild winter didn't agree with them or something. They're not having a good year so far. So yeah, maybe we won't see that many. But I did see, only my fourth or fifth one on Thursday at Fish On Trail, Fish On Road. So maybe they're doing better down Klickitat Valley than elsewhere. So this is a female purplish copper. Next copper is the lilac bordered copper, which is far more common up there currently at Status on the way up. The roadside seep area, which is the stop just before Simcoe Butte, and also the ski area. It's common in both areas, and I suspect they've only just closed because they're looking pretty fresh, like this one with the beautiful lilac border. So yeah, we definitely see them. They were mudding along with blues and everything else along the roadside seeps, and they've been common up there for a few years now. It's a good place to go and see them. And that's the female dark inside. So yeah. Blue copper, I didn't see any on Thursday, but they occur at Simcoe, and maybe not further down. Maybe that's why I didn't see them because I didn't go to Simcoe. Um, Probably correct because of all the buckwheat up there. So that's one of the species that probably is confined largely to the Butte. And the Mariposa copper. Now, this one, I looked through all my records because it should be there, but I haven't seen it in 5 June visits, So um, it's either very, uncommon there, or I just didn't see it, or it's not there. But so this is one we should look for and celebrate if we find it because it will be a new record. I don't think I checked the county records. I mean, it occurs in Klickitat County, of course, but I mean, there's no. I think I checked iNaturalist. There's no recent records of it in the vicinity of Satyrs or Klickitat. I don't think so. So that's one. There's a few like these, few species like this that have piqued my interest at least to actually see if they do occur in this area, and us taking the whole gang there provides a good opportunity to actually come across some of these species that should be there but haven't seen, in my experience. Okay, moving on from from the coppers to hair streaks and elfins. And this one you all know, of course, the grey hair streak feeds on anything as a caterpillar, so you'd expect it to be everywhere, and it is just about. Not in huge numbers necessarily, but it has its moments, has its little outbreak times. Um, there was a good flight of them after winter in early spring, and they produced another generation that's now emerging. I've just seen a few fresh ones in the last couple of days. Although I didn't see one on Thursday, quite possibly we'll see them in Klickitat and Simcoe Satis next weekend. It's always good to see them, and often, I mean, you see so many of them, you learn to recognise them as they fly, because they do fly quite distinctively, I think. Um, so I think this is a pretty good bet that we see. California hair streak. Now, this is go back. We will see. We will definitely see California hair streaks, and so this isn't a butterfly you can usually go to a place and expect to find it every year in numbers. But Klickitat Valley seems to be one of those places, at least currently. I think I looked at the records, but we didn't see this in our WABA conference in 2013. So maybe, as butterflies do, populations change over time, become more abundant, then get less abundant, come back again. So it's going through a phase, and Jim would probably know more about this than I would since he lives there. But it's common now. I saw them last year and this year in the Klickitat Valley. And that mud-in spot that I showed you earlier along the fish-on trail, they will be, if it's a 90-degree day on Sunday, I think they'll be there in their dozens at least. And they occur at the other sites too, the other Klickitat Valley sites too, and they're all in pretty good condition, so they'll be around for a while. So we have the California hair streak, and there's a similar species, the Sylvan hair streak, which I'll show on the next slide. No, it's actually not next slide, is it? Let's see. No, so this is a picture I took last week on Thursday at the same place, Fish on Road. The previous picture I think was from 2025. So same location and California hair streak. So note the little orange cap to the blue. It has a name, but I can't remember what it is. Taurus, Thecla, something like that. The blue bit there, it's got a cap, orange cap. That's important because we're going to see another hair streak, the Sylvan hair streak that looks very much like it. And they have this orange bit, but they don't, I mean, sorry, the blue bit, but they don't have the orange cap. See? So, and they're there with the California hair streaks mixed in with them. The Fish on Road, I did only notice the Californians, but at Horseshoe Bend, right outside the porta potty, actually, on flowering yarrow, there's a whole bunch of Sylvan hair streaks. Oh, and one odd California. So it'll be fun identifying, separating these. And it gets very difficult when they're worn, when they become worn. But currently they're in pretty good condition, so we shouldn't have too much problem. We don't see these up at Satis. I don't think, I didn't check that thoroughly, but at least not in recent years. Probably at lower parts, we might have seen them in where the road begins. I seem to remember, but so maybe their populations dip there and Klickitats increase. So anyway, these two butterflies are two reasons to go to Klickitat. And there's another shot of a Sylvanus, again, Sylvan hair streak without the blue over the top, the blue hat on the orange. This was at Horseshoe Bend last Thursday on the yarrow outside the porta potty. No, it isn't yarrow, is it? I don't think. There must be another shot. Okay, so this is the gold. literally the gold hunter's hair streak. This is, the Washington fauna's newest butterfly, I believe. And I can't remember how long ago it was. It wasn't long, maybe 5 years. Guy called Dennis Deck found them in Klickitat County. Um, and we still don't know much about them in Washington. We do know that it's an extremely unusual occurrence because their nearest population from Klickitat County is way down south in Oregon, right on the border with California, and it's a rare butterfly there. Um, and it's interesting because there's been a new guy just been brought out. I've got a mental block here about the guy who did it, Jeff, somebody, um, about Oregon's butterflies, all the butterflies. I just looked up the gold hunter's hair streak before I started this Zoom, and they haven't even got the fact that we have it in Washington. It's such a new occurrence. And so how it got to Klickitat is anybody's guess. We need somebody to look at genomics. And I know just the guy, of course, we all know him because he gave a presentation a few months ago. That's a thought that's just occurred to me. But anyway, getting off track here, Gold Hunter's Hair Streak, it occurs there. And I found it there last year. I have to thank Keith Brady for a lot of things, actually, for helping me find rare species that he's madder than I am in finding new butterflies all around the state. And I think this year he's going all around Oregon. Um, so, and this is his picture. I tried a picture I'll show you in a minute. It is not very good. This is a brilliant picture of his. Um, but I did see one last year and I did get a picture as bad as it is. You can recognize it. So it does occur. And I was hoping we would see one. I didn't see one on Thursday, which was a great disappointment. And I have a worry, suspicion that the early season has meant that they perhaps have finished. I saw my specimen last year on June the 11th, and it was a pretty worn individual, unlike this one, which looks pretty pristine. And I think, well, Keith did this in 2023, and I don't remember the date, but anyway, it might be the consequence of our early season that they may not be flying, or maybe they are. And so I said at the beginning, having that wet patch will be a good thing, a good thing for any gold hunters hair streaks that are seeking moisture will be there. And so if it does attract a lot of butterflies on Sunday, and gold hunters is not among them, then I'll be pretty sure that we've missed the flight because they were there last year. And I remember Keith saying, because he was there like a couple of weeks before I was last year, and he said there were a few of them, quite a few. He just sat there watching them. So, by the time I got there on the 11th of June last year, it was already getting late. But every year is different, and the population numbers might be different. So we still, can hold out hope that we might see a gold hunter's hair streak, Washington's rarest or most restricted butterfly. So there's my brilliant picture. And I did zoom this in, and you can actually work out that it is the gold hunter's hair streak, but the angle and everything just means that it's not very good. So June 11th last year, the nearest colony, as I mentioned, Southern Oregon, and I've actually said everything that's on this slide. Very good. Okay, moving on to another hair streak, the half moon hair streak, semilunar. Used to be common up at Satas, Simcoe. In recent years, not so much. Although maybe I wasn't looking for it. I don't know. It's easily confused with Bois d'Ivoire blue. Well, not easily, but you can confuse it. Its behavior is different. It doesn't, the blue hangs around blue pins and on the ground, whereas this butterfly will tend to, hang around on bushes and higher, off the ground. It flies differently too. So this is, hopefully we can see this up there. Bayer's hair streak. And this is another one of these intriguing butterflies to me that should be there, but I don't have any record of it. I haven't seen it there. So there's no reason why it should not be there at Satus Pass and maybe even down at Klickitat too. maybe Jim can tell me. Um, but this is one that we should see. There aren't many records. I think I did look at records, recent records, iNaturalist, etc. So I don't know. It's one to look out for. Maybe too far west. It's more common to the east. Excuse me. Hedgerow hair streak. I used to see quite a lot of these at Satis, but in July. But since this season is advanced and we're getting, later butterflies coming out early, excuse me, I have to take a drink. We could get lucky and see the hedgerow hair streak. But that would be lower down, one of the earlier spots, maybe. But maybe it occurs at Simcoe too. There's no reason why it shouldn't. Thicket hair streak, did it's an occasional species there. 2013, we saw it as a group at Satis. So hopefully we're lucky again. But it's never really common there. And some years and you don't see it. So it's one of those ones you've got to be lucky for. Um, so there's a few spring butterflies that are still flying up there, just barely hanging on. This isn't a picture from last week, but I did see one at Satis that was in much worse condition than this. Um, I saw them flying there 6 weeks ago, I think, when I went up there, and they're hanging on. So we might well see, raggedy Western pine elfin at the lowest. The lowest stop at Satis. We did see it in 2013 and I've saw it in 2022. But they'll be aging and worn, which is how I feel a lot of the time too. Brown elfin falls into the same category. It's a spring butterfly there, and some may still be hanging on. We did see them in June 2013 when we went there as a group. In 2020, I saw it too in June, again, aging and worn. Um, Another one we may have just missed too is the bramble green hair streak. That used to be quite common, 10, 13 years ago or more. At the lower part of Satis, I saw one last year. Um, we when we head into Satis Pass trail part, track, we go underneath power lines, and I saw them there last year, or one or two. I checked again last Thursday, none to be seen, and I think the flight period may have finished given the earliness of the season and the exposure of that habitat. Everything was drying up even there at a higher elevation. So we may have missed this one, but hope springs eternal, and they could be at the top too at Simcoe. It's just that I've never seen them there, but who knows? We might see them. Another one we might see up there too is the Western green hair streak, which should still be flying. Um, but again, it's another one of these intriguing ones. It should be there, but I haven't seen it, over the years. So another one to look out for. Any green hair streaks. I mean, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. Sheridans could be up there too. Um, I, I think we may have had records of Sheridan early on, not at Simcoe, but lower down at Satis Pass. So yeah, any green is we could look out for. Okay, moving on to the blues. And the first one is the greenish blue, which was common on Thursday, um, particularly in the seep area. This picture was from Thursday, actually, I think. No, maybe not this one, no. It's the next one. So yeah, they were there feeding on the wet mud quite commonly at least two of the lower sites at Satis Pass. That's the picture I got last week where it's laying an egg on some sort of clover legume plant that I didn't identify. Um, so they're there. Another guaranteed butterfly to see because it looked like many of them were fairly fresh, so they've only just started emerging. Then everybody knows the Bois d'Ivoire blue, common blue. Um, occurred at both sites, of course, as you'd expect. Getting a bit aged at the lower areas, at Klickitat and also lower Satis. But I bet at Simcoe it's probably in pretty good condition still. There's plenty of lupin up there, so it'll be up there undoubtedly. Another one of the guarantees, I think. Silvery blue is very aged. I didn't see one last week, but at Simcoe there could be a few still hanging on. Maybe so worn you can't really tell what they are. Um, but there's a good chance we'll see them up there, as we saw in June in a few other years, including the Wobber conference year. So watch out for them. Arrowhead blue is another one of the puzzling ones that should be a Klickitat. Maybe we got the timing wrong, or well, they're flying now in parts of Eastern Washington, so I think the timing's right. And Jim again probably would know better than I, but it seems like it should be there. But then again, there's no recent INAT records in Klickitat County, surprisingly. So maybe it's too far west again. It's sort of Klickitat County is sort of on the border of the west and the east, so you sometimes get mixture or or not. So, but it's another one to watch out for. Western towel blue is usually common at satyrs, and I was surprised I didn't see it last week. Maybe maybe I didn't look hard enough, I wasn't there long enough, whatever. Because they can be, you've got to look carefully for these because they're pretty nondescript sometimes. This one in the picture is a freshly emerged reared individual, so you can see its markings very well, but they soon lose the markings along with the tail. So sometimes they can be hard to spot. But in other years, listed there, they've been abundant. So I was surprised. This is one of the surprises. I didn't see this last week, but a good chance that will be rectified this coming Saturday. So back to the aging and worn echo blues were there. I think about just at Satis. I don't think I saw any at Klickitat. They probably would have died by now because the greater warmth down there would have knocked them out. Although actually, I think I saw what I thought was one, but I didn't get confirmation. So they might still be flying, but they'll look like this. So again, hardly recognisable, with not much blue, but just hanging on there. Akmon blue, I was surprised I didn't see any last week because usually it's one of these butterflies that you see everywhere you go, just about. And it certainly does occur in both locations. So I don't know if we're, waiting for a new generation to emerge. Perhaps we are. But it's a possibility. We should be seeing it. And I think, well, the years we saw it, it was June, but because this year's been, earlier, maybe that's why it's not at Klickitat, but maybe it's at Simcoe Butte. Maybe, and I seem to recall that we used to see most of them up there at Simcoe. And also, it's hard to tell apart cousin, the lupin blue, also occurs at Satyrs. So both species occur there. So this another challenge for identification. But with all our experts this weekend, we should be able to handle it. And yeah, this actually, my recollection, this is actually commoner at Satyrs than Akmon. They're usually quite big and beautiful, actually. So lupin blue and Melissa blue, and this is Melissa always puzzles me a lot, because normally you find it in lowland areas in you know what's the word, just unkempt areas, disused areas, rubbish areas, if you like. It's not a butterfly pristine areas, but then again, you find them sometimes in pristine environments, like at Satis, at elevation too, because normally they're at low elevation. Um, and I have this issue with a species that looks like this at Bethel Ridge, on the top of Bethel Ridge, which looks like Melissa, but it shouldn't be up there, we think. But maybe it is. I don't know. But anyway, so I actually saw one last week at Satas. This isn't it. I think I've got a picture of the one I saw here. And so, but when you get species, a butterfly that's got vague orange on the forewing and not, prominent like this is here, very prominent here. So that looks like Melissa because it's so prominent, but it's not so prominent there. That sort of gives you pause for thought. And I didn't get to look at the inside, the dorsal surface. I mean, it could have been a lupin blue, you know. So, but I looked at the records and we do have Melissa records for a long time ago, admittedly. Um, and I wasn't such a experienced lepidopterist then, of course. So maybe I got it wrong. So anyway, this is another puzzle. I think I looked at INAT too, and there are records of Melissa in the area at higher elevation too, just down the road from Satyrs Pass. That's right, and maybe on Satyrs Pass. So it's definitely possible, and it's another one of these little conundrums that I like to focus on sometimes. So it'd be nice to see if we can see more Melissa and confirm that they are Melissa with the assembled expertise. Euphalotes. There's another butterfly, or the group, the genus. I expect to always see Euphalotes. And so I'm always surprised when I don't. So I didn't see any Euphalotes last Thursday, either at Clickertap or at Satyrs, or, didn't go to Simcoe, but they're probably there. So, and they're probably around. I just didn't see them. Just not very common. Um, this is the Cascadia blue, which is more common to the east, I think. I mean, it's possible to be here, but looking at my records, I don't have any record of it. But then again, I didn't know much about euphalotes back in 2007. It was just euphalotes sp that I put on a lot of my data. So I know better now, but so it's possible it could be up there. So this, it's always interesting to look for euphalotes, um, even if we're only doing it for Merrill Peterson, who loves the butterflies. But this one does occur up there, and I've recorded it up there, and we did too in 2013. Um, it's if you don't know the dots, one of the best ways to tell them apart is the blotchy dots on Heracleoides, the Cascadia blue. See how they're bigger and more blotchy, and even to the hind wing too. And then you look at Columbia blue, and they're more finesse. It's a slight difference, admittedly, and there are some other differences too. The markings are not so bold all over, really. But the Columbia blue is the more common blue, and it seems to be, it spreads further west than Heracleoides does. And so, as I said, we should see this at Satis and probably in the canyon too. I'm sure it occurs there as well, as it occurs in most places. Okay, that's the Lycaenids. Moving on to the nymphalids or the brushfoots. There's 27 of those. Coronis fertilary, one of my favorite butterflies, as you all know. I saw them. Of course, they closed a few weeks ago to start their migration, and some do migrate maybe en route via Satyrs Pass. I mean, they usually, when we see them there, they're usually flying west. And so they're coming up from who knows where, somewhere in the shrub steppe. And sure enough, I saw them there, not in huge numbers. This is not a good year for Cronus. It wasn't a good autumn last year for Cronus. The numbers coming back from the mountains last year was not very high. Something happened during the summer, it appears. So the number that emerged this year weren't great anywhere, and I didn't see many at Satis last Thursday. And but they're migrating, so maybe they're most of them. I mean, it's nearly mid-June, so most of them should be up there. But I did notice that I saw as many females as males, and that is a sign that maybe the males have all gone through, or they haven't come up yet, which is unlikely. They would have gone through, but it's usually you just see all the males. But this time there was a good number of females too. And mixed amongst them was a few Calippi. I did catch one. Um, and that's usually the case. You usually see sometimes you see more callippi at Simcoe than Coronis. So obviously you need to catch them to actually look at their elongated, beautiful spots. Um, but yeah, I saw not this one, but saw one or two at Satis last week. So I think we will see them again this week. Hydaspes, not very common at Satis, and it's usually a bit later in July, but have seen them in June. And since this is an early year, it's a possibility. But it's usually high up Simcoe and high up this, at the end of Satis track. Um, so it's a possibility given this warm year. And the same goes for the Zarine fritillary as well. Saw it at Simcoe or Satis in June 2020. So it's definitely a possibility. Actually found Zarine caterpillars there too. So yeah, I mean we need to check the fritillaries we see. They're not all going to be Coronis necessarily. Okay, the crescent crescents, Mylitta was common at both Satis and Klickitat last Thursday. It's having a good year, is Mylitta. They had a good winter apparently, so almost another guarantee, I think. Field crescent was at Satis, just a few, and it's. I looked on the map and everything. It's at the end of their range, so we're lucky to see them there. They don't go much further west than this area, so it's good to see them, and we should see them because I think they're just emerging because they're all very fresh. So there may be more there um, than I think. And we've seen them in numerous years. So I think we will see probably in the mudding area along the side of the road, they will be there this week. Another little conundrum. I like these conundrums with checker spots this time. And gosh, there's a lot of conundrums with checker spots. But the sagebrush checker spot, which, as its name suggests, is in the sagebrush. But, you can stretch that a bit to the lower parts of Satis, where I'm pretty sure I saw desert checker spots or sagebrush checker spots last Thursday at the lower part. And yeah, I don't have time to go into why I thought that, and we can talk about it on the day. But they're there, I think. And I've recorded them in the past as such, and I've no reason to change my mind just yet. But the confusing thing is that there's northern checker spots there too, at higher elevations mostly. But in the past, they've been at lower elevations at Satis too. So that has been confusing. And you see them every year. So we're going to see northern checker spots and the desert checker spots just to confuse us. So it's another one of these little species conundrums we will have. Another, well, a common checker spot up there is the Snowberry checker spot, and I saw them quite a few. Yeah, there was actually dozens of them mudding in the roadside seep. And as you can see from the dates there, they're there every year. So this is another guaranteed butterfly. And you can't ever get fed up with seeing a Snowberry checker spot, I don't think. And these ones are particularly beautiful. And they're all, at the moment, very freshly emerged. So they're looking beautiful, just like this. I don't think this is a picture from last week, but that's how they look. This is a picture from last week and another conundrum. And Anicia, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think that occurs there too. And John can tell me I'm wrong, but that looks like Anicia to me. And I've recorded it in the past as being there. And it's not very common in comparison to the Snowberry, but it does occur there. And then if we didn't have enough checker spots, we got Edith's. She's there, and she's probably more common at say at Simcoe Butte at the top. She dominates that realm, and you can I say easily tell them apart. Easier to tell Edith's apart from the other two. The Snowberry and Anicia than it is to tell Snowberry and Anicia from each other. So this is Edith's with the well-known Editha line through down there. This is Dave Nunley's picture. Thank you, Dave. So yeah, we'll see them as another guarantee. They were out in force last Thursday too. And that's a picture I took last Thursday of a female, nice big fat bodied female with eggs. Um, and yeah, you can recognize it's a female. I can anyway. This band here is something that's pretty diagnostic, I find. Anyway, we can talk more about that on the day. Moving on to non-checker spot butterflies. Lorquin's Admiral. This is a runner-up for butterfly of the weekend, perhaps, because it's at both places in fairly good numbers. Just beginning its flight, I think. So more likely, there'll probably be more, particularly at Satus. Um, so yeah, always a great butterfly to see again. We're very fortunate up here in Washington having some very attractive butterflies, but you all know that anyway. Another one is the Milbert's tortoiseshell. I didn't see any last week, but I always usually see them mostly at Simcoe Butte. And the new generation is emerging that, developed in lowland areas, and we suspect strongly that they migrate to higher elevations because we see them, in the summer in mountain meadows. And so it's quite possible that the first ones will be arriving at Simcoe this weekend, perhaps. I'm looking forward to, on a warm day, to seeing a lot of butterflies hilltop in there, which I'll talk about at the end. Um, so, yeah, that's, you all know Milbert's tortoiseshell. Another tortoiseshell is the California tortoiseshell, and you all know that one too, because it's having a Bonza bonanza year. Bonza, what did I say that for? Bonza is an Australian word for good, and bonanza too. But yeah, it's going to be a good year for California tortoiseshell when the next generation ecloses, which it's just started doing. Um, on the Hall Trail at Klickitat, I saw a dozen or so gathering on moisture, all freshly emerged. So they're just beginning to emerge. And I bet, given that the warm temperatures coming at the weekend, there's going to be an explosion of them probably. And they could well be migrating. I've been up at Satus, at Simcoe in June and seen them migrating, like the Cronus heading west, in much larger numbers than Cronus, of course. But so that would be good if we saw that. But we're definitely going to see this species, whether we just see one or two or hundreds. And of course, look out for larvae. There might still be some larvae on Ceanothus, and there's plenty of Ceanothus around since they've had such a good year. I've found larvae in a number of places this year on Ceanothus without looking, just come across them. So it's going to be a good year. And another good year is being had by this butterfly, which is maybe the commonest butterfly in the world, but it's still one of my favorites. I've actually got a cage just in front of me here with painted ladies emerging as I talk. Once you rear butterflies, you can't stop. And we don't often see painted ladies here. We have years of drought where we don't see them at all. But this year is not a drought year. It's having a great year. And again, the larvae are just reaching full development pupae, like the ones in this room here, are eclosing. And I've seen a few fresh ones. And so next weekend will probably be the stimulus for a lot of emergence. And so we'll see a lot of, I don't know that we'll see a lot, but there soon will be a lot of fresh, pristine looking painted ladies that will have another generation. I did see one last week, a fresh one in Klickitat County, but that was the only one in the canyon. And just to join in the fun, the West Coast lady is also here in better numbers than normal too. It turned up early and it's breeding too. Because a number of people I know have found larvae and are rearing them. And so that's being duplicated in the wild, no doubt. And so we will soon be treated to a whole bunch of West Coast ladies too. Another one of my favorite butterflies, of course, since it's Vanessa Annabella, and I have Annabella Vanessa. So, a West Coast lady, how can you go wrong? And it's often seen at Simcoe Butte. That's the other thing about these migratory Vanessids. They seem to like to congregate at high points, as Simcoe Butte is. And another one, it's not as common as the other two this year, but there are a few, as there is every year. But it's here. And it's often seen at Simcoe Butte. Sometimes you can scour the countryside looking for these, and you can just go to Simcoe Butte and find half a dozen. Like hilltopping. Keith Brady did that last year, which was quite amazing. So who knows? I'm just praying for this vision of all these hilltopping butterflies on Saturday at Simcoe Butte. And yet another one that could join them, Vanessa Atalanta, the Red Admirable. It's also having a great year. And I've just reared a batch of those and let 20 odd go, because I found for the first time larvae in a nettle patch in Yakima. That hasn't happened for years. So there was an early migration up and a significant number, and they're bred. And so again, a new generation of red admirables will be out shortly, maybe as soon as this weekend. And I bet you if they are, they'll be at Simcoe Butte. So, okay, moving on to the more residential butterflies. Hoary commas are at Satis, not in huge abundance, but there's a few there, and their numbers vary from year to year. 2020 and 21 were good years. And of course, they're getting on now because, as you know, commas have lived a year by the time June comes around, nearly a year anyway. And so they're getting pretty old. And maybe if we find commas, they'd be hard to identify because they'll be worn. And um, I guess say we're more likely to see this one here, which is there, and I saw last week, the satire comma, but the green comma also occurs there. I saw it there in June in a couple of years. So sometimes it's challenging at this time of year to tell these three species apart. So yeah, these are definitely hanging on. Here's a picture of one I saw last week. Not too bad condition actually. It was feeding on sap from the tree there, and also the good old morning cloak as well. There's still a few hanging on, looking in pretty good condition, almost as good as that one there. Um, and I've already mentioned the larvae that we found in 2013, and John shouting at them. But I saw one adult flying around patrolling his territory on that wet bend, and I can almost guarantee he will be there come Saturday, unless something has befallen him in between times. Common wood nymph. I was surprised I didn't see any of these at Klickitat Canyon at Fish on Road last year on June the 11th. They were abundant. Of course, I went on June the 4th. So these butterflies obviously didn't take advantage of the warmer conditions, but I expect they should be flying this weekend, and they'll be like this in very good condition, very dark and deep brown, and big. I think we can look forward to seeing them, common wood nymphs. And also possibly we need to check, for the Great Basin wood nymph as well. It's possibly present, but it's another one of these conundrum species that it probably should be there, though maybe it's a bit west of its normal range, but it's a possibility both at Satis and at Klickitat. So it's one we should, if we see an abundance of wood nymphs, we should check them. We will see this one. I saw this at Klickitat last week, the small or dark wood nymph, usually recognizable if only by its size, but it is quite different. So we will see them. Oh, the monarch. How could I give a talk without not talking about the monarch? Just briefly, they turn up anyway, as you know, and they're migrating right at this very minute. Probably not this very minute because it's too late, and tomorrow it's going to be not very good weather. But yesterday, one was seen in Portland, and they're migrating up, and rumours of sighting in Washington too, maybe. So, just be aware. It's a possibility. It will be a red letter day if it happens, but it could. Um, okay, the ochre ringlet, everybody knows, of course. And again, it's another one of these ubiquitous butterflies that occurs in most habitats or many habitats. I saw it last week at both places, just in small numbers. They've been out a while. They emerged very early this year, so um, they've been flying for maybe 4, 5, 6 weeks in some places. So they're getting near the end of their life, and so they'll be disappearing soon. So we may not see many of these. There wasn't many last week. Great Arctic is just beginning its flight. This is the on year for them. But at Klickitat, they fly in the off year too, because I found them there last year too. Satis, they don't only they only fly this year, and they were there last week. So we'll definitely see Great Arctics. So another guaranteed butterfly. I should have marked the butterflies that are guaranteed, shouldn't I? So moving finally on to the skippers. 17 of those are possible. Um, Cloudy wings and dusky wings. The northern cloudy wing is common at both places. So if you haven't seen one of these, you'll see these. It used to be more common at Satis than it is now, but it's still there. I saw them last week, just small numbers at both locations, the northern cloudy wing. Again, it's been out for a little while, so maybe coming to the end of its flight. This one's definitely coming to the end of its flight. I saw some at Fish on Road that looked like ghosts, literally, of themselves. I should have put a picture in, but I don't think I did. Did I? No, I didn't. But they were. It was amazing to see them. They're almost white. They look like some other butterfly. Um, so they're hanging on unless the heat kills them off. We should pick up one or two anyway at both locations. Perseus dusky wing is also present in small numbers at both locations, maybe just starting its flight. Again, sometimes difficult to tell the dusky wings apart because we also have Pacuvius occurring at Satis. This one's a bit worn, so it's a bit harder to tell. But yeah, so another identification lesson from experts, perhaps. And the dreamy dusky wing, I always find this one the easiest to tell because it has this rather prominent white icy patch, as I like to think of it. And that's quite common at Satis. And I saw it there last week, just fresh, so beginning flight probably. So we should see them. Silver spotted skipper, I always like seeing these because you don't see them much in Yakima or the Yakima Valley. But I saw one on Thursday in Klickitat Canyon in the Hall Trail, I think it was. Always good to see them. Uh, and they've been seen at Satis too occasionally, but not often. And now there's another few skippers that should be present, but we don't see them. I mean, this is a common sooty wing, but I did look at the distribution, and we may be too far west for this. They do like hot, dry areas, garden, unkempt land, disused land, etc. But you think it would be present, but so something to keep an eye out for. Um, and the two-banded checkered skipper, I was surprised that doesn't seem to be present. I'd never seen it at Satis, and you'd think you would see it there, at Simcoe and upper parts of Satis. Um, but I think I checked records, and it doesn't seem to be very common, if at all, in Klickitat. So maybe another reason for it, but one to be on the watch for. And also, its bigger brother, the common checkered skipper, which is, a more eastern species perhaps, but you'd think it'd be in the Klickitat Canyon, and maybe it is. Maybe just I didn't see it. But these are butterflies that I didn't see, and they're not apparently very common in the area, but they should be there. So we need to look for them. And this one too, the northern white skipper, which can turn up anywhere. It's a pretty fast, powerful flyer, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that. I mean, it always turns up at the unexpected places. So anything that's fairly big for a skipper and white will be this. It's pretty unmistakable. And the dun skipper, I was surprised to see that at Fish on Road, and at one spot, um, just one individual. And maybe it was fresh. It wasn't this picture, obviously. So maybe just starting its flight because it is fairly early. Um, but yeah, I like seeing dun skippers because again, I don't see much of them in Yakima. Another one that should be in the Klickitat Valley is a sandhill skipper, perhaps. Um, another one to look out for. Western branded skipper, I haven't seen any fresh individuals yet, on the brink of emergence, I imagine, and that occurs in the Klickitat Canyon for sure, and also at Satus. So we might be on the verge of seeing them. So we need to be able to separate them from, of course, the Juba skipper, which is common at Satus and Klickitat, but its flight is beginning to wind down, so individuals will be not very good condition, except at high elevations. And unfortunately, it does occur at Simcoe Butte. And I say unfortunately because this prize occurs there too, the Nevada Skipper. Um, and we didn't see this in 2013 because I don't think we were aware that it occurred there. I mean, I presume we looked, but we didn't see it. And since that time, I discovered it there. I think it was me that discovered it. And I've seen it there since. So, there's one particular area that I know that occurs in that obviously we will look at. And the good thing is the timing is exactly right. The end of the first week of June, second week of June is usually prime time, although because it's an early season, maybe they're already flying, but they should still be flying. And so if you haven't seen the Nevada Skipper and you don't want to climb up very high hills, not hills, very high hills, and you can drive up there and see the Nevada Skipper because normally they're in places that are pretty inaccessible, without a four-wheel drive and having to walk a distance. So this is a good opportunity to see Nevada Skipper, which should be there, and we can have a lesson on how to recognize them from Juba skippers, which might still be flying there too, just to confuse us. But they're normally all over the place up there, not just in this one locality. Okay, so this is Nevada skipper habitat, Simcoe Butte. They like hilltopping, just like so many butterflies, like the Vanessids do. Um, the Nevada skippers are champions of that too. Um, so the woodland skippers, I think my last slide maybe, their emergence is due any day now. I thought I saw one the other day. It could have been. Um, so yeah, and with the heat next weekend, I bet they do start emerging. So we could see one. And now this is my last skipper, the common roadside skipper, which we did see at our conference in 2013 at Klickitat. A very, hard to see butterfly sometimes, and easy to miss, but always cool when you find one. Okay, it's not my last slide. I think I summarized the highlights. Saturday, hoped for highlights, me in my dream mode. Nevada skipper, mud-in parties of blues, coppers and checker spots, pale tiger swallowtail and scarlet gilia photo opportunities, check in the checker spots, hill-topping butterflies including vanessids. Yeah, I think that covers it. I think I've I've mentioned all those things, and I think we're in a good chance of achieving all those things, given the day is going to be sunny and 78 degrees. I think it's going to be excellent. And then on Sunday, obviously the targets are the hair streaks, particularly the gold hunters. Um, and Yeah, I mean that will be fantastic if we can find a gold hunter's hair streak. Um, and I hope we can get a total number of species greater than 55. And I'm convincing myself going through all these slides that that we can, because it does seem to be the opportunity to do that. Um, and especially with a good group of people that I hear we're going to have, um, it could be an exciting weekend. So I am ready for questions if anybody has any questions.
So this is not like our regular meetings. Please feel free to unmute and ask your questions. Jim, I wanted to check in with you and see if you had any questions or comments since it's your turf.
think David hit the majority of it, just spot on. I am a little concerned that we're gonna miss Gold Hunters here Street.
Yeah.
If they're around, I'll know the spot, but maybe on Sunday if it gets hot. They like it hot.
That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah.
Uh, that's a real possibility. Um, that hot weather also, though, is going to, some of them, such as Indra and Anise and so on, which would normally be down in the canyon, might be gone by now.
Yeah.
And just so you know, David, it's currently cloudy and raining.
I know. It is in Yakima too.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
so we can always hope.
Yeah.
But I think you've hit it pretty much spot on.
Thank you. I didn't miss anything then.
I
Okay,
would think I would think the rain now would be good for Saturday and Sunday, though.
Yes, definitely. It's going to hang around for tomorrow at least, and it's going to be cool right up until Thursday, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it could be, so everything that I saw would be like, you know, stay the same for a while because the cool conditions. So it might be very similar to Thursday, to last week. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it's setting up perfect, actually. So,
Yeah. Good
well,
timing.
if anybody could teleport me out there, I'd appreciate
I
it.
was going to say, you coming?
yeah, we'd like you to join us, James.
Yeah, well, I'm teaching Thursday, and so I just don't see me getting there this weekend. So
Dang it.
teaching Monday too. So
Well, you're here tonight and you'll be there in spirit with us over the weekend.
exactly. No, I wanted to see this one because I'm a particular fan of the Lycaenids, and so every time I hear about Western hair streaks and Western coppers, it makes me happy. So
Yay. Okay, any other questions, comments? Please feel free to chime in.
I was wondering how many people have registered.
Regina, do you have that information?
I can look it up. I think we're up to we're over 40, so it might be 44. I mean, if you need
wow.
me to look it up, I'll look it up.
Oh, no,
No,
it sounds like we're
just
great.
roughly.
Yeah,
Yeah, low 40s.
yay.
Good number.
That's a lot.
So, well, David, thank you so much for doing the scouting work and also for interrogating the previous records and iNaturalist to really try to get a comprehensive view of what we might see. Yeah, it's a lot of work, so we really appreciate it.
Yeah. I thought it was good to do that. And I hadn't realized how much time I'd spent up there, to be honest. It's a
But
great place, though. It really is one of my favorite places. So.
Yeah, that happens when you get older, David. You lose track of how many times you've been places.
Yeah, I know. I know.
well, it sounds like it's going to be a really, really great trip. Melanie or Liz or Dan, can you just give us, since we have so many folks here, just a quick preview of like what's going to happen Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then also remind people about bringing food and water and all of that. One of you, Melanie, Liz, Dan.
Okay, here, sorry, I couldn't get myself unmuted.
Okay.
Okay, so Friday night, I don't have the time. It's either 6 or 6:30, which is a little embarrassing. We're going to be meeting at the lodge for light snacks and catching up. And Paulette and I will be at the registration table, and we will have a species list taped to the table. And David, I think you were going to provide a copy of the map or maps for the trip. Is that something you were going to do?
I'd forgotten about that and all the things I was doing.
You're
But
doing.
well, you mean just like the map I showed?
Um, Often you have provided a map that we taped to the registration table of the locations where we were going. And I don't know if that was just in case somebody gets lost or if that's, yeah, is that probably similar to what you had up?
Yeah, I think it's straightforward, really. I mean, yeah, I could. Who shall I send that to? I can send
You
that.
could send it to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll tape it on the table. Or Paulette.
Yeah, we were just going to tape it to the table and ask people to take pictures with their phones rather than providing hard copy.
Okay.
And this will be at the lodge in Goldendale, which we have sent everybody the address for, and that should be a nice facility. And it's got a Bluetooth TV that we will be, when John talks on Saturday night, that we'll be using their fancy TV. And we're having, so on Saturday, I think what we're planning is to meet at the Quality Inn parking lot. We'll gather there, and they have said that it's fine for us to leave some of the cars there, and they gave me directions as to where the cars should be placed for those carpooling. So then we'll go off with David for the day, and we will return to the lodge. Again, I'm sorry, I don't have the time, but we'll announce that probably Friday night for an Italian dinner. And then John Pelham is going to be speaking to us. And let's see what else that evening. Oh, we'll want to go over the species that we saw, I guess the species list. Then Sunday, we will again meet at the Quality Inn, and David will take us out on another trip, which will not be as long as on Saturday. Is that correct, David? Or people can stay as long as they wish?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it'd probably be the heat that would drive us away.
Yes. And I don't know, Liz, do you have anything to add to that? Maybe you have
Yeah,
the
thanks,
times.
Melanie. I was trying to find the last notice line, but we'll send something else out that kind of delineates it again. It was in the GNUM, the last GNUM, the study weekend update, but we'll send it out again. The agenda. But I think you got it covered.
The moth
Um,
night,
yeah.
moths, the mothing.
Oh, yes, sorry. Friday night, David Droppers will be take hanging a sheet and shining lights, and wonderful moths will come and he'll identify them for us. And it's usually a wonderful event. And he's gotten permission from a state park, which I think you pointed out, David. And I think the ranger is going to attend with his family, and I think there's a campground nearby, and they at the campground, people staying in the campground are being invited also to attend. So there might be a nice outreach opportunity just to connect with some people that aren't members currently. So.
Okay, we may want to have some bookmarks or something if people are interested in following up. Just I'm not sure who has those. Liz, maybe you?
I've got some to bring.
Oh, okay, great. And then if there's any questions about any of this, please chime in. Just want to reiterate what has already been sent out about bringing your lunch with you when we're out in the field, and also plenty of water.
Hi, I'm Sally, and I have not registered yet. I've been trying to work out the logistics. I'm in Vancouver. I don't know any of the times. Like, what time are people meeting in the Quality and parking lot and things like that?
Will you be coming to the meet and greet? The time for the 2 mornings.
Yeah.
David, have you decided on a time for us to meet on the 2 mornings for
Yeah, I
the
think
field trip?
8:30 is usually the time we choose, I think. That 8:30 sounds good to me.
Okay.
Okay.
And so the meet and greet, you're talking about the Friday 6 or 6:30 thing
Yes,
at
yes,
the lodge, and I kind of looked up the lodge, whatever. It's just that's the name of it, I think, in Goldendale.
yes, that's
All right.
correct.
Okay, so I'll try to be there for that.
Great, great. And then we'll have clearer times. We'll, at the registration table, we'll make sure to have a schedule for the weekend so people can take, again, pictures on their cell phone.
Okay, because I'll be camping somewhere out of town a little bit, so I need to have time to get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
So do you have access to the GNOM or to the information?
Oh, yeah, I'm a member. I just haven't registered, but I'll check that out.
Okay, okay, that sounds great.
I did look at it and I'll go back to that.
Okay, any other questions or comments or things that people want clarified?
Well, I'm sorry, were you through with that? I was just going to comment, David, that in 2013, we saw several different moth larvae down I think, the Klickitat County, which I think the Ranchman tiger moth was one.
Mhm.
Yeah, Milbert's tortoiseshell. No, not Milbert's. I'm sorry. No, it was morning cloak. So that wasn't a moth. And what was the other one? The sheep moth, Hemiluca glanturina.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that was fun. Yeah. That was when John made loud noises and they all
right,
jumped.
right. Well, actually, in that same spot, I forgot why I saw a moth too, and I tried to get a picture of it, and I didn't have a net with me at the time, and it was a large tiger moth. I have no idea what it was because it wasn't like a Nevada tiger moth. It was a big thing, and I thought originally it was a hemiluca, sheep moth thing, but it
Yes.
wasn't. It was a large tiger moth, and they were hanging around. There was like a dozen of them hanging around this elder bush. No, what's it called?
Fast flying or slow flying? Kind
Like
of.
a butterfly, flying like a butterfly. I mean, they
Okay,
look like
so
they look like hemiluca, but it wasn't. It wasn't them. Well,
okay,
I'm
so
pretty
could have been a ranchman's maybe because they're pretty big and they're pretty fast and they fly like a butterfly.
They're
okay.
very dark. Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's something that we can look at when we go and find out what they are, because I don't think they're going anywhere. They were just hanging around this bush.
Yeah, yeah. With the early year, you could have adults of both of those things flying around, both the tiger moths and the hemiluca.
Right.
So
Yeah, it actually, I thought there was two species. Unless there was a sexual difference, there was two species. So does
yeah,
does the Ranchman tiger moth have different males and females?
yes, but not to the point where you'd probably look at them and say two different species because
Oh, well,
the
I
hind
did.
wings on the hind wings on the males are bright yellow. The hind wings on the females are kind of just solid brown, but the forewings are white spotted on a brown background. So
Well, I can't remember the details, but there was a visual difference, amongst these things flying
there
around.
there are, but there could very easily be other species of tiger moths flying around during the day easily
They
because
don't.
I can think of some Tenuca and Leptarchia californiae and
Okay.
a bunch of other ones that are diurnal. So
And
They don't usually hang
Paulette.
around a spot though, do they? Like aggregate. I mean, Hemiluca does, I know, but these were just sort of hanging around this large bush area. It wasn't just a small area.
probably larval food plant. So yeah, that can happen.
Okay, it was red osier dogwood. That was the plant.
Oh, that's interesting.
even at the Hall Road site, we get
Yes,
a lot of
yes.
tiger moths in there, and there's two forms that are flying simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
There's an orange form and a black form, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, you know them then. That's it. That's what I saw.
I have a question for Regina. If I'm not mistaken, today is the last day to, if you don't register today, you wouldn't be able to attend the dinner on Saturday night. Is that correct?
We're trying to give a count for the caterer, the restaurants. I don't think it would be a huge problem if there's one extra person. Alex is really the person who's coordinating with the restaurant, but I'm not going to prevent anybody from registering. They're just, I can't guarantee that there'll be a meal on Saturday.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure people were thinking about that in case they were waiting till the very, very last minute.
Yeah, that's why we asked people to register by today, because then we can give the restaurant the count for tomorrow.
Okay.
If this Sally again, if I register for sure, I'm not going to be there for the dinner.
Oh, okay. Then you can register anytime.
Yeah, now I know the food. I can't eat Italian food, so I have issues with that with stuff, so I can't eat that.
Well, we are also providing, the restaurant said they can do dairy-free and they can do gluten-free.
Oh, yeah, okay. The stuff I didn't know, but I probably won't be there.
Okay, okay. We won't stop you from registering.
Well, Sally, even if you're not having dinner, you may want to be there for the presentation.
Right, right. It depends on where I camp and how far it is,
Yeah,
and
sure.
don't really want to be driving around. My camp thing is on my vehicle, so I have to set it up and that kind of stuff. Gets complicated, evening stuff.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I definitely want to be there for the field trip, so.
Okay, I also want to mention, I think that there are some people who are going to participate in the whole weekend, but want someone to, a companion to come for the presentation for dinner. And so if you're doing that and you're having problems registering, at the very least, let Regina, or let someone know on the board so that we have a head count for the catering.
Yeah, don't just, let me know, because I'm the one who's giving the number to Alex. If you
Okay.
email one of the other board members, then I may or may not get the info in
Okay.
time.
So let Regina know. And your email is in the GNOM and on our website and all of that. So
Right, and it's, and it's in the registration site, also the website where people register online.
okay. Yeah, because I know that there are some people who want a companion to come, but I weren't sure about how to handle that. So I suggested that at the very least they let you know. Okay, another question is, Donna, I think you were doing a lot with the carpooling. Is that all well in hand? Does anybody have any questions or issues about carpooling?
I haven't had any more requests. And so I think everybody that was going to get matched up did, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, that all sounds great. Any other questions or comments or anything that we should consider at this point before we meet up this coming weekend?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, this is Karen,
Hi,
that
Karen.
I am not gonna make Friday night. So I'll see all you guys on Friday morning. I mean, on Saturday morning at Quality Inn parking lot.
At 8:30.
Okay. So I'll miss registration and Friday night,
Okay. Okay, well,
unfortunately.
okay, well, that all sounds fine. If you're not going to be there Friday, then you may not be taking pictures of the maps and all of that, but you just have to hook up with somebody else who does have that information.
Yeah, one of you guys can take a picture and text it to me.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe Dan, he has my number.
Yeah, okay. Dan?
Or one of you guys. And if you don't, it's no big deal, I think.
Okay, any other comments, questions, things we need to think about?
Okay, but we will send a notice line delineating all of the events and
Okay,
where to meet and what time to meet.
Perfect, Liz. That sounds
Shortly.
wonderful. Okay, well, David, thank you again for all your work in doing the scouting and, considering what other species that we might see and might look for and showing us pictures. It's been really a great presentation. So I think we're all geared up and excited for this weekend. So thank you.
Yes. And the weather's going to be good. So
Yay!
great.
You ordered that up too.
Yay, yes.
Okay,
Not like
Enjoy
last year.
yourselves.
Not like last year when it rained on the day. Remember that? In the middle of June.
yeah,
That could have been
pictures,
today, so we're having our rain today.
pictures to prove it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But we still made good of it. So it was okay.
we did. Yeah, it was a great day, and we met Zach McDonald, and it was really
Yeah. Memorable day. Yeah.
memorable. Yeah, I love that picture of all of us standing around in our Gore-Tex. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, and we'll look forward to seeing you all this weekend.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yes,
well,
thank you.
good
Thanks,
night.
David.
Safe travels, everybody.